Guys, I want to thank the sponsors of the podcast. I want to thank GoHunt.com, my friend Cody Nelson, the glassing guru, the optics authority. He's the optics manager at GoHunt.com. If you have any interest in buying optics or have any glassing questions, whether it be tripods, spotting scopes, rifle scopes, range finders, anything to do with glassing, give Cody a call, 702-847-8747. That's extension 2, or you can email him at optics@gohunt.com. You can also send him a text or call him on his cell phone at 602-399-3699. Guys, right now at GoHunt.com Insider, you can take advantage of the free trial. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott. You're going to be able to take advantage of a free trial of the Insider. GoHunt is always adding more value for their Insider members. They've now added real 3D maps as a part of Insider for no additional cost. What an incredible value. Very soon they're going to have their mobile app up as well. Go to GoHunt.com/JScott and sign up for a free trial. If you're already an Insider member, it's automatically part of your Insider membership. And you can just go to the Maps tab up at the top once you sign in as an Insider. I also want to thank KUIU Ultralight Hunting. That's the gear that I wear on all of my hunts. To find out more, you can go to KUIU.com, KUIU.com. They're a direct-to-consumer company. They sell everything off of the KUIU.com website. I also do a lot of question and answer on my Instagram where I'm answering questions about guys wanting to know about gear about KUIU, so tune into my Instagram. I want to thank KUIU for their sponsorship. I also want to thank Phonescope.com. Use the JScott20 promo code. You're going to get a 10% discount on all orders. Again, thanks to all the sponsors of my podcast. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today I've got Kevin Call and John Adams from High Point Outfitters. Guys, how you doing?
Good, Jay. Doing good.
It's always good to have you guys on the podcast. So we're sitting here about the 7th of October or 6th of October, and I want to do a elk season 2020. I guess we'll call it the COVID season recap for elk season in Arizona. What are your overall impressions of the season now that it's finished for elk?
You know, Jay, I mean, unfortunately, we didn't have a real good rut. I mean, of course, everybody knows Arizona, was super dry, which is unfortunate. I think the number one downside of hunting elk in Arizona is without a monsoon, the rut's going to be impacted, and we definitely saw it this year. Actually, a little more this year than last year. We did great. We had an 80% kill success on all of our archery hunts around the state, so we did okay on our hunts. But the rut was very lackluster, hit or miss, real pockety. And unfortunately, it wasn't as fun as it normally is. So we had to grind it out, but the success was still strong. So it was just kind of lackluster rut is how I would, kind of summarize it.
I think one of the things that's hard for all of us, that have hunted Arizona and seen it when it's really, really good, as well as the hunters coming in with expectations of getting that experience, because quite frankly, there's other states that guys can go to and hunt and get big bulls, but what everybody craves is the great bugling and great experience from a lot of people I've been talking to, just like what you're saying, that overall rut just didn't seem to happen, and if it did, it was real pockety. Was that your experience, that you'd get bulls bugling here and there, but there was no consistency to it?
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah, I had an awesome client, and I kind of had felt like usually during scouting you can kind of get a sense whether the elk are going to start running or not, like the week leading up to the hunt. And I called him, Craig. I just said, hey, are you fine if we hunt like the first 3 days, and if we're still going, and the rut isn't going, are you fine just going back? He's from Utah, and he's like, yeah, I'm fine with that. So he can't, I actually sent him home on day 2 of the hunt. Like, it was that bad.
You mean like to come back and hunt the last part of the season? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. Usually we just do 7-day hunts and stuff. And I hunted with him for the first 2 days, and I just said, hey, come back next weekend, and you'll have a way better hunt. And he was totally good with that. Drove back to Utah. We met back at camp, I think on Saturday or Friday, and he hunted until the end of the hunt, and he got more shots. I mean, he shot at a stud bull. It wasn't the best opportunity, and then he had a few more other shots. But man, if we would have stayed there for the rest of that first week, it was going to be miserable. But it slowly started getting better. But out of the 3 shots he had, one was a call-in, the other one was spot and stock, and the other one was just getting in front of the elk while he was pushing his cows. But I mean, it was pretty like the rut was not great by any means.
Yeah, Jay, like you say, I mean, you want to provide your clients that call-in opportunity, and it was just tough. It was just tough to get that done this year under that type of a scenario. So it wasn't as fun, but at least our success hung in there, which we were glad to see that all of our guys were able to get it done. So
yeah.
I mean, he had passed up on, I would say, a half dozen opportunities at some good bulls, but he wanted to hunt a 400-inch bull, and we finally made that happen on the last 2 days of the hunt. Or he wanted to, shoot a 370 plus bull, and he wanted to hunt a 400 or shoot a 370. So, he did it. I mean, he knew he was going to have the opportunity to use tag. I mean, we would have, bulls less than 350 or 350, and we would just walk away from them. So, it's good to have clients that show up, if they want a trophy hunt, and they stick to their guns.
Yeah.
I enjoy hunting with people like that. Like just like hunters want to know our expectations, like what we expect out of them, and they expect out of us. It's good that both parties hold up to that. Whenever they show up into camp, and he was a stud to hunt with. So
let me back up a second. Let's say, September 1st, at what point did you realize, or did you have in the back of your mind, that it was not going to be what Unit 10 is known for? I mean, or did it take till the opener of, I think, the 11th, 10th or 11th for you to be like, oh yeah, it's not going to happen? Or did you have a pretty good sense early that it just wasn't going to be there?
Yeah, I mean, usually whenever we're antelope hunting in 10, I mean, we will hear bulls bugling. We'll be getting pretty pumped during that antelope hunt, and it was just not happening. Like it was so dry that and even whenever you glass up bulls, they were singles. All the giant bulls were singles, which will usually happen. But then normally, like right before the hunt starts, that weekend prior before the hunt starts, you'll start seeing those bigger bulls start moving in on those cows. Yeah. And it just never happened. There was still, 330 type bulls on the cows, and all the bulls that we were seeing that were, like 80 plus were by themselves. Like they would walk literally right by the cows and just keep going. And it was just like, what in the world is going on?
So do you think that the cows didn't, there's a bunch of cows that did not cycle, or do you feel like a bunch of them are cycling late, like potentially right now?
Yeah, I mean, there's there's just one second here. Yeah, I would say that I don't know if it's possible if they skip, because that would hurt the the calf ratio next year. But I do think, Game and Fish should take that into account for tags next year. I don't know, like, if they're not producing calves, like, that's going to hurt the population of elk. And, I think, I would say they probably skipped it this year. I mean, we still even have Lester out in the field. I just talked to him today, and he's still saying that the bulls are literally walking right past the group of cows and just to go get water, and they won't even hang out with them still, even currently right now, like the big bulls. So
what do you guys I asked Chris Rowe, I was talking to him about 7 West, and I was asking him about, kind of what he heard of, and out of the 100 tags in Unit 10, like, how many bulls do you think actually got killed this year on the archery hunt? I mean, do you think it's like 10 out of 100 or 20 out of 100? How many actual, tagged bulls do you think got harvested?
Man, I know of a few people that definitely killed bulls. I didn't see any giants that got killed during the archery hunt.
But just numbers-wise, what would you guess? I mean, 30 out of 100?
I'll bet you our success is pretty similar to what it was last year. I'll bet we're in the 40% range.
So 40 out of 100?
I don't think it's that far off of years past.
Just the quality, I think people were just starting to settle for anything. I would say probably 30 tags out of 100 probably filled, if I had to put a number on it.
And what about the early rifle hunt as far as the harvest on that? I mean, it has to be lower than normal as well.
I would say from everybody that I knew that had an early rifle hunt in 10, which I probably know maybe 20 of the tags, all of them filled. I don't think anybody didn't fill. I would just say the quality wasn't there. Like, people were shooting busted 6 points. Everyone in our camp, killed 370 plus bulls. Besides one, probably killed a 360 type bull. But I would say, it was probably, not the best of quality, if you will.
You talk about broken points. Sorry, Kevin. You talk about broken points. I mean, with a lackluster rut, were there actually quite a few bulls that did not break, or did they really start breaking at the end?
Whenever there would be, so we would drive like in the middle of the night, like 2 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock at night, and just find that it felt like one cow went into estrus, and whenever you would wake up to see the bulls in the morning, there was some points busted. But it was usually the rut will last until like 9 o'clock. Sometimes you'll be still kind of chasing bugles and stuff. It was 15 minutes after like it was done. But through the night, because there was a full moon, they definitely busted some points during that time of the hunt.
Yeah, I don't think there was. Of course, this is the time of year, right? That the horns get broken, what have you. But with the lack of rut, I think I saw less bulls broke. We certainly saw bulls broke, but I think I saw less this year than in years past when we've had a strong rut. So I think it's pointed. That late hunt should be a little better and a few less broken bulls, at least in 10.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you saw a bull off by himself, you'd figure a satellite bull. This year, that was usually the best bull in the unit. Like, it was nuts. It was like a late rifle bull hunt, or late rifle archery hunt. You know, you spot and stock, glassing. You know, like calling them in was starting to happen during the early rifle hunt. You were starting to call in quite a few like 330 type bulls. But yeah, the rut definitely was not there this year.
With the rut being more lackluster and maybe some points not breaking, do you think the late hunt's actually going to be a pretty good hunt this year?
I definitely think between last year, all of those bulls with the snowfall, a lot of them didn't get killed, and then this year, not very many of them breaking. I think it's going to be good. You know, I'm pretty excited about it. So,
You know, the elk are definitely concentrated around the water, of course, so we say, generally are, but man, there were very few dirt tanks with water this year, and they were concentrated around the ones that had water. The same thing will happen in November. Water will be critical. I mean, it doesn't look like there's any water in the forecast anytime soon, so if it continues to stay dry, I think the late hunt ought to be a decent hunt this year.
Those guys out there with those November archery tags, and I believe there's even a muzzleloader hunt, would you say to them, really focus on find those places that have water and really know that those elk are probably going to be stacked on that? Is that a good strategy?
I would say those guys saved a lot of points because they're going to have the same opportunity as those people during the September hunt. It's going to be the same exact hunt. I mean, spot and stock. If you can sit water with a forecast coming around, I'd say that's probably going to be about the same. The only benefit the early archery guys had from the late November archery tags is probably whenever we would get to drive around at 2:00 midnight to listen for where the bulls are at. That's the only perk that we had during that early archery hunt. So
guys,
I'd say they're going to have the same hunt.
You've been hunting 10 for a long time, and years ago, the Boquillas, the big bow, made some different rule changes and whatnot about sitting water and numbers of guys in camp, and guides had to pay a registration fee, and the list goes on. But my question for you is, having hunted it before the rules and now having had a handful of years after the rules are in place, what have you noticed? What are your thoughts? What are your comments?
Jay, I think it's it's all positive on our side. Sure, it costs a little bit to get on the ranch, but a hunter's paying, I think, $110. To hunt or have access to 750,000 acres. I mean, that is just off the charts to be able to spend $110 for that type of ability for access. So, we think it's all positive. Certainly, if you want to see water, there's a lot of opportunities in the other parts of the Unit 10. Without, I'll just give a plug to the Boquillas. I mean, without that water this year on the Boquillas, I'm not sure what the elk would have done. They would have really struggled. I mean, I know the elk in Unit 9 struggled a little bit. I mean, Arizona Elk Society's just pumping water. They've been, hauling water for almost over 2 months now in 9, 7 West, etc. They don't do much. They don't have to do much in 10 because of all the water that's pumped from the Boquillas. So I think it's a huge plus. I know there's a lot of animosity and downside for folks that don't want to pay the fee to get on. But to us, it's just it's a big plus for hunters. Plus, big time for the elk to have that water opportunity there, and I think it's just win-win.
Do you think the animosity has gone down a little bit and that actually people have kind of accepted it, or do you still hear as much noise as you heard before?
Yeah, I would say it's definitely gone down. There's definitely some people that still refuse to buy the permit, but I mean, for instance, I was on a Kaibab this weekend just turkey hunting with my kids. There was people like everywhere, and I mean everywhere. Like from people camping, from people trying to escape the fires in California. I mean, there was more California license plates than I've ever seen in my life. I mean, there was bikers, everybody enjoying the woods, everybody, and that's what they're there for. It's public land. So to not have that many people in the woods and pay whatever it is, $110 to know that everyone that is there either has a tag or paid the same or is all in the same, rules, no sitting water, no running trail cameras, no spotlighting. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And I think, yeah, it is definitely, I think it's made Unit 10 better. You compare it to Unit 9, there's still people fighting over water in Unit 9. It just takes all of that out of the equation,
Jay, especially this year with COVID, we had hunters in 7 West, 6A, 5B, 7 East. Those are all right here around Flagstaff. We had a hunter in Unit 1. I mean, there's a lot of recreationalists in those units. They have a serious impact on the success of that archery hunt when there's that many people camping and recreationalists out in the woods. Whereas in 10, there's not many people, on the Boquillas, so there are not many people that are going to pay $80 to have that permit to go out on the ranch just to camp. So it takes that whole, this year especially, took all the recreationalists off the unit, where all the other units were definitely impacted with everybody camping.
Yeah, I even had one of my favorite tanks up on the Kaibab that I like, turkey hunting. That's what I was doing up there with my kids. And, there was a guy camped 130 yards off of one of the main water sources that's there. And I had to let him know, like, hey, did you know you got to be a quarter mile away from water, not confrontational at all, just letting him know. And he's like, yeah, Game and Fish came and notified us. Yeah, we're definitely learning. And I'm like, well, okay, why don't you pack up your camp and move it so the wildlife can drink some water right now? You know what I mean? Like,
being responsible.
It just takes all of that type of stuff out of the equation whenever you're making people that access that land read all the rules, whereas somebody from California or, wherever, it could be Utah, Colorado, it could be wherever, literally just shows up in the woods and they don't know what the rules are,
right. You guys mentioned a handful of other units. What was the general consensus across the board on a lot of those other units with your hunters as well, as far as the season goes?
That 5B hunt this year was a good hunt. We had 3 hunters in there this year. All 3 of them killed within the first couple of days. They moved that hunt back. I don't know if you remember that. They put that muzzleloader 5B South hunt in front of the 5B North archery bull tag. And yeah, so we had great success on that. Unit 1, he killed opening day. 7 West passed up some bulls. 6A passed up bulls, and he did not fill his tag. The other 6A guy booked the second week of the hunt and not the first week. We do like to give people that option if they're looking more we usually try to say if you're gonna trophy hunt, book the first week, because all of our scouting is going to go towards that one bull. If you're wanting more of a rut and a chance at more opportunities, we like to book them the second week. And the guy that booked the first week had a chance at a stud bull. And then the second guy obviously shot like a 330 bull. 70s filled. And yeah, so that was pretty much it for the archery hunts. I would say overall the second week is always better, and it even proved it on the 5D North archery hunt when they pushed it back. So
let's shift gears a second. Sound like you were up on the Kaibab for the turkey hunt. We've got the early season Kaibab hunts and the late season Kaibab. Talk about the Kaibab, your thoughts on this year, your thoughts on the fire. Give me an assessment.
Yeah, I mean, Jake, we love the Kaibab. Most of your listeners, I mean, we only hunt 12A, 12B. We spend all of our time right there. We love the Kaibab. The fire, certainly, I guess the biggest impact of the fire, it won't impact the hunt much this year. It'll be off the charts in years past. The warm fire that's, I think, 12 or 13 years old is really starting to get overgrown and getting harder and harder to hunt. But the biggest impact, they've got some roads closed. They've got the 461 and the 462 that come off the top down through the warm Springs Canyon. That's closed, so there's no way to get from Jacob Lake down to the 22 road. And then the biggest impact is the 22 road. They've got it closed coming out of Fredonia there, where it connects with the 422, the winter road, and stops, it closes at Big Spring. So they got about a 10-mile, 11-mile stretch there of 22 that is closed. That'll certainly impact some access. Won't really seriously impact the hunt much, because most of the feeder roads, if you know how to get around the Kaibab, you can access most of it. But getting camp in and out and all that, the 22 road is really going to make it tough. The late hunt will be seriously impacted if we have a snow event, not being able to get into the 22 or going through the Oak Corral down to the winter range. You can't come off the top if there's snow. The early hunt, we should be fine. Doesn't look like we'll have any weather, so we can access the whole Kaibab. But with the 22 road closed for the late hunt, and it's scheduled right now to stay closed until the 20th, which is opening day, hopefully the Forest Service will look at that and change it up before the late hunt, because otherwise, if we have a snow event, there will be no access into the west side winter country for the deer, and that'll seriously impact the hunt. And I feel bad for those guys that drew this year, that's a potential not have any access to the winter range on the west side. So we'll see. We've got some hunters, late hunters. We're watching it close. May have to get tags back. People that drew in the random probably ought to just make the best of it and go for it. Those that got the preference tag that can get it next year, likely be best to get it back. But the east side's not affected at all. 12B's not affected. It's just 12A West right now, where 70,000 acre fire, magnifier rolled through. So so I guess that's kind of the quick summary. We're excited about the Kaibab. It's hot and dry, just like the whole state. Antler growth seems to be right on par with last year. Our age class is excellent. We are looking forward to the year of Kaibab to start off here in a couple of weeks. We've got some 200-inch bucks that we hope to go put on the ground. So we're excited about the early kicking off here, both in 12B and 12A West.
Kevin, one question about the roads being closed, just thinking outside the box, and someone that does, I've hunted the Kaibab, but it's been a long time, don't know it real well. I mean, playing a devil's advocate, if the roads are going to be closed, I mean, is there any way to get to the low country? And if not, I mean, could you literally go 2 weeks early and just go get down, get established, and stay in there? And even take supplies if you got a huge snow, just be able to ride it out for a couple weeks?
Jay, the problem is, okay, so the early hunters, there will be very little impact. If the deer go down low, you can hunt the winter range. The difficulty with, and this is the reason why Forest Service has closed that 22 road, they're afraid that they're going to get a bunch of people into that winter range and then not be able to get them out if they have a snow event. So, yes, you could go in there, but the road system is, on the 22 road getting out of Oak Corral, if it's washed out, and that could likely happen with a rain event or a snow event, if that road gets washed out, you're there, getting evacuated by helicopter because there is no way out of that country except the 22 road. You've got to, you're going to climb back up to 8,000 feet to be able to, to get back to any pavement or get back to any access to get you back out of that country. So there's only one way in, one way out. If it gets washed out, you're there and getting evacuated by helicopter. So it's the late hunt. It'll be interesting to see what happens between now and then.
It's so because you want the snow.
Yeah.
But then, if you're down there, you're hosed. I mean, you got chains and stuff, but if we get a good snowstorm, you better be wall tent, and you might have to leave your wall tent out there. Definitely not trailers. I mean, there's no way you're getting a trailer out of there.
So it's just difficult. If the 22 road where Moquitch, Mangum, Big Springs, Warren Springs, all these monster canyons that roll right into the 22 and the 22 perpendicular to all those canyons are completely fried, and any water event that comes off that watershed, and we've had no water hardly at all. We had the rains, and it's my understanding that it impacted the 22 road already. We've had no rain events at all. But if we get a good rain event coming off that heavy charred canyons, it will wipe out the 22 road, and then there will be no access period to get out of there in the case of a snow event. So that's what Forest Service is worried about. You hate the government to be trying to protect everybody from themselves. And I hope, I don't know why they have it closed for the early hunt, quite frankly, because, generally we don't have snow events. And there's a lot of ways out of that country without a snow event. But with a snow event, again, you can't climb into that 9,000 foot elevation to get back up to the pavement to get out of there. And there's one way in, one way out. If it washes out, you're stuck. Trailers are no dice, and vehicles are likely to be, difficult to get in and out of.
One thing to look at is potentially some bucks are going to probably live another year, and next year the guys that have tags, it sounds like it could be a phenomenal hunt because everything I'm hearing is the Kaibab's trending up, and if you've got a situation where not a lot of bucks get killed on this late hunt, next year could be absolutely unbelievable. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. I mean, we're not trying to scare people that have late tags. We have clients on the late hunt. I would just say, if there is a giant snowstorm, it's going to be tough. I mean, that's all there is to it. With the road closed, if we get a snow event, it's going to be tough. If we don't have snow, no problem. You can get in and out of that country even with a foot of snow, you can get in and out of that country. We had a big snow event last year on the first weekend of the elk hunt, which is the last weekend of the Kaibab. So people got stuck in there and the roads were fine. But if you get the road washed out, it's going to be tough. But
yeah, not to over alarm anybody, people with late hunts, we're watching it in the event that we don't have any weather. The late hunt will be just fine, and we'll be real good. And luckily, people can turn their tag back right up to the day before the hunt. So hopefully, you have a burn point guard. That's one of the reasons why we have point guard. We'll see how that late hunt goes.
Guys,
we're excited for the early hunt here in a couple of weeks. The early hunt should be good, and we're killing 200-inch bucks on that early hunt. And a non-resident can actually draw that tag. That's a positive thing about that early hunt, and it should be a good one this year.
Guys, it's always great having you on the podcast. I appreciate both of you getting together in one spot so I could talk to you both, and look forward to seeing your success on the Kaibab. And just thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for having us.
Yep, I'm going to link up the best way for guys to get a hold of you. But what is that? How do you want people to reach out to you?
Yeah, check out our website, the best way, highpointoutfitters.net. Another way, shoot us an email at shoot, so it's SHOOT, at highpointoutfitters.net. Our telephone number's on the website too, so you don't have to jot that down. But give us a holler, shoot us an email. Of course, this time of year we're in the field a lot, but we do return phone calls and we do return emails. So we will get back with you and help you on your hunts this year or in the future. We'd love to have you. One quick note on antelope. We're big in 10 on antelope, but we're going to put a pause on 10 for antelope. We really struggled. The antelope are struggling in 10. We love 5B. We killed the governor's tag hunter in there this year. 5B, 5A look like the places to be. We'd probably stay away from 10. Just a quick note on antelope.
Good stuff. Guys, thanks as always, okay?
Thanks, Jake.
God bless. Take care.
Yep, you too. Bye.